My name is Mario Vitanzi. That handsome bastard to my left, your right, is Patrick Chiotti. This is Altitude Adjustment, and the Denver Broncos are 3-0. Things that
Hey, feel I'm in the mood for a switch up. I hit the function, hit the rose till I hiccup. I hit the stage and leave with money that's a stick up.
Yeah, I cut myself off with the intro, so we're off to a really good start. And when I say 3-0, I of course mean in the last 3 games. Pat, we've seen such a phenomenal turnaround with this team because you and I had said you start 0-2. Arguably the toughest 4-game stretch throughout their entire season was the first 4 games of their season. They're staring 0-4 at the face. And instead, here we sit at 3-2 with a very real chance to go 4-2, a very real chance to go 5-2. But we'll preview those games coming up. Let's talk a little bit about the Raiders game. I'm going to kick it to you, Pat. What were the big takeaways for you from the Broncos-Raiders game, aside from the fact that we beat that ass?
Yeah, and beat that ass they did. I think my 3 biggest takeaways from this game. I'll do one takeaway for each facet of the game. For the offense, the run game is continuing to develop. It's continuing to get stronger as the season goes on. We're seeing a little bit more creativity in the run game, trying to get some RPOs set up. You can kind of see it's coming. They've been running some RPO. I know people have been saying, why aren't we running fancy RPOs and stuff like that? Well, they are. They are running RPOs. It's just when the ball gets handed off, you don't see it as an RPO. You see it as a run.
As a handoff, sure.
Yeah. So I think they're getting a little more creative in that sense. And with the run game coming along, that means play action is going to come along. Excuse me. My mic is just having a great day. And then, we saw that come along in this game as well. That completion of Troutman late in the game was a perfect play action execution. So I love that the run game's coming along. Defensively, I mean, this team is just, watching the Chiefs game last night and seeing, how much pressure Patrick Mahomes was under from the Saints defense.
Right.
It made me pretty excited. I'm getting bricked up just thinking about,
I love when you're bricked up.
I am getting bricked up at the thought of this defense going against the Chiefs offense. I think that
Pat going 6 to midnight. Up in here.
It's getting close. We're about to hit the red button. But it's very, very close to just being one of the more dominant defenses that we've seen. You could make the argument, well, they haven't played, fantastic opponents and they played in the hurricane and blah, blah, blah. But, Zach Allen is doing incredible things on the interior. The pass rush is getting home consistently. Vance Joseph remains one of the best coordinators in the league when calling pressure and getting efficient pressures. I think that's the biggest thing. You can call pressures and blitzes all you want, but if you're
got to get home. Yeah,
it don't mean shit. They give up the big play early to Brock Bowers, and I think that's a one-off.
It was a bit of an anomaly. Like it was not a good throw from Gardner. Just kind of threw it up.
It helped my fantasy team, so I'll take it. And
you smacked Joey Richards worse than the Broncos smacked the Raiders. Matter of fact,
as it was written. But this defense is just playing lights out. You've got Riley Moss out here playing excellent football. Pat is the best corner in the league. Who's going to argue now? Brandon Jones Chris Harris Jr. said it on the post-game show with me. He did not expect Brandon Jones to step in and step up, and he sure has. And it's just really good to see that this defensive unit is playing really well. And then my last takeaway from this game on special teams, this continues to be one of, if not the best special teams unit in the NFL. Punt coverage is fantastic. They are not allowing any big lanes. Kick return has been on point. We got some big returns from Tremont Smith and Marvin Mims in this game that helped set up. Marvin Mims could be really credited with a few points in this game because of how he set set the offense up and gave them good field position. And then, I mean, busting guts, Lutz, just absolutely on the money. Got the gimme,
all up in the guts.
Got the gimme, and then just nailed a deep field goal before the half. That was awesome. He continues to be automatic. This is becoming a really fun team. If this offense just keeps taking the stepping stones, and keeps growing, this is going to be a dangerous team.
As long as we see more like in the second half than in the first. The first half, from an offensive standpoint, you're like, man, because we had talked about this, and when I did the show last week with JR, I was saying this needs to be the game that you let Bo sling it. Like, you got to put up 30 points against this team. First half was looking a little bit dicey, and then the second half they found their groove. And it's interesting because in the past, like especially last season with Russell Wilson, was great on script, and then as soon as the script was over, that was when the struggles kind of commenced. We've seen now, arguably in every game, Pat, that Bo gets stronger and better as the game goes on. Now, obviously, it's not the most sustainable thing. You like to see him put together 4 really good quarters of football. And I think that's what gets me the most excited. That's what's getting me rocked up, is knowing that they're 3-2. The offense for 2 of their games has been good. And we're really only scratching the surface of what Bo is and how good he can be, because he hasn't even really turned in 3 good quarters. I mean, you could argue that he, has had good halves of football or 2 good quarters per game. And it's nice that he turns it on in the second half, because that's what you need to do in this league. But man, if he figures it out for an entire game, then the sky's the limit. And I remember when I was talking to Joey last week, and I brought up the discussion you and I had about Bo Nix's game against the Buccaneers. And we had said, is that closer to his floor or his ceiling? And you and I both agreed that it's like, we think it's closer to the floor. And then, of course, the Jets game happens, but you kind of have to throw it out the window, because Hall of Fame Aaron Rodgers could barely hold on to the ball. So it's like you move on from that ugly win, but you got the win. Don't even look at the film. It's going to lie to you. And we saw Bo make throw after throw after throw, especially, again, in the second half. He started making some big boy throws. The touchdown to Reynolds, perfectly layered in the back of the end zone. It kind of it didn't look like a no-look throw, but he definitely looked off with his eyes. It's like his head was pointed more towards the middle of the field when he threw that ball. And I don't think that's a pass that he attempts the first few weeks of the season, Pat. And so we're also seeing he's becoming more confident in his arm and in his capabilities. The throw down the sideline to Cortland Sutton, absolute dot, perfectly placed ball. And there wasn't any separation. It was just a perfectly thrown ball. And then I know and I think you have the film for this, and we're going to do just a quick breakdown, but the deep ball that he threw to Troy Franklin, Pat, I know that he came out and he said he needs to take about a yard off of that.
Nope. No.
That's a perfect ball.
Nope.
And that's just a ball. That's honestly probably a pass that Troy Franklin catches 8 or 9 out of 10 times. And sometimes those are the hardest. When you're all alone, you overthink it. The ball's in the air for a long time. And I'm sure if you ask Troy, he would tell you that's absolutely a catch that he has to make. So, everything that we saw from Bo and the progression the progress that he's making, I don't think you could ask for more as a Broncos fan right now, Pat. This is what we wanted, for him to get consistently better week in and week out. And I think we're seeing that.
Yeah, I think we definitely are. And we, we're seeing him kind of take more control of the offense. Sean Payton kind of went back to this weird thing of like bringing in multiple personnel groups in a drive. I can't stand that. Like I can't even talk about this right now
because you want him to find a groove, right?
Well, I can't. I'm not qualified. I gotta.
Oh! We need a special guest. Okay. So Pat will be replaced by Coach Pat. Coach Pat, what do you got for us?
Hey guys, it's Coach Pat. I'm back. Listen, I'm all for using different personnel groups. Okay, I think that different personnel groups in different situations are perfectly fine. But at what point do we start thinking about the disruption of the rhythm of the offense. If you've got a drive going and, you're moving the ball pretty well, or you want to establish some sort of rhythm, you're not going to be able to do that by switching guys in and out over and over, like multiple times throughout a drive. You just can't do it. You've got to be able to get your personnel groupings into situational, into situational coaching. That's what it needs to be. If you want to help build rhythm, you want to, Jesus Christ, you're gonna make me
sorry. Don't look at me. I'm trying to, I'm in my office. I'm trying to get this all set up. We're flying by the seat of our pants. It's different kind of chaos that we're used to. So just ignore me right now.
If you're, and I'm just thinking about this from the coach's standpoint, you should be able, realistically, you should be able to run any one of your plays out of every formation and every personnel grouping that you can think of.
Ideally, yeah.
That's the making of a good offensive structure, because then you have guys who can succeed in certain situations. All that to say, I think that we're seeing Bo Nix grow more and more week by week. Yeah, he that clip of him blowing up on Sean Payton,
love to see it.
Would have loved to be a fly on the play call sheet when that was going on. Because
what a staunch contrast to what we saw last year when Russell Wilson just tucked his tail between his legs and he took it. And it's like, part of me almost thinks, Pat, it's like, was it like a test, like low-key a test? Not saying that he wasn't fired up about something, but what if deep down inherently Sean Payton's like, I know this is my guy. I also know how I want my quarterback to react when I'm chewing his ass out. And we saw it multiple times from Russell Wilson. And this is, again, everything that we're seeing from Bo Nix, almost everything, 180-degree difference from what we saw last year. He's getting in Sean Payton's face, and Davis Webb is backing him up too. Yeah. And then, of course, the fact that he doesn't take sacks.
Yeah, and this game was a little different in terms of the sack department. I mean, when you're facing a guy whose motor is just insane, like Max Crosby's is, it is going to be tough. And this was going to be a tough matchup for them anyways, with, playing a rookie at right guard, Christian Wilkins. Christian Wilkins was, man, he was doing Quinn Miners dirty on Sunday. And I hate to say that, because Quinn really has been playing pretty well, but he got Quinn a couple times in this game. I think this is going to be
he got him good a few times, but he's one of the best interior D linemen in the league.
Oh yeah, big time. And he showed why. And then Tyree Wilson was even, showing up here and there with some really good push. But Max Crosby, man, this dude's a fucking freak.
He's different. He's built different.
He really is. It sucks that he went out in the fourth quarter, but he played a great game. Like he did. So let's look at some plays here. And yes, Watt and Watch has been going well. This game, you know what? We'll talk about it, because this was not Luke Wattenberg's worst game, I will say.
Low bar, but okay.
It wasn't his worst game, not his best game, but not his worst game. I've seen better, but I've seen some improvement in him as well. Specifically getting to the second level, but still kind of looks lost a little bit when he gets to the second level. Like, doesn't really finish blocks. We got I think 1 or 2 pancakes in this game for him. So, let's stack those up. But just like plays like this, where, this is what it's 2nd and 2. So we've got 2nd and manageable. Like this is an opportunity for a shot, right?
This is, in my book, 100%. This is take a shot territory. Like you're roughly in field goal range, throw the ball downfield.
Yeah. And this could have been an RPO. This could have been, something here, but this is just inexcusable. And I implore everybody to go watch some of your favorite centers of all time. Just go watch them if you can. Go watch some Tommy Nalen, baby. Go watch some Tom Nalen. Go watch Lloyd Cushenberry over the last 3-4 years. Go watch Jason Keller. Yeah.
Jason Kelce. Yeah.
Yeah. Go watch Creed Humphrey. Like, watch those guys snap the ball. It's perfect 90
Every time. Yeah.
95 to 99% of the time. This is like, being a center is really hard. Yes, I understand. God, everybody in the comments telling me about it, but this is just inexcusable. You've been in the league for what, 3 years already? You've taken snaps. You played center in college. You know how to snap a football. This is inexcusable. We're in.
So, Pat, honest to God question.
Yes.
That kind of a snap, he's got to think that Bo is under center, right? Like, he's leaving it for him. But at the same time, man, it's like, let's say that's the case. Then we're also assuming that he has no feeling in his taint. Like, how would you not feel that a grown man's hand is not brushed up against your taint?
I think this was just an instance where he was trying to get the snap a little bit up, and
he got it up.
It went.
He got it way
up in there, Morty.
He's very lucky, Pat, that Bo Nix was able to jump on this, because if this is a turnover, then this is a much more viral video.
Oh yeah.
Nobody outside of Denver realizes that this happened. Like, if the Raiders recover it, this is very much a butt fumble type of situation where he might never live it down.
And this is still a close game here. It's still relatively close. So I want you to watch Luke Wattenberg's body language. So when I'm watching film, for those who don't know, when I'm watching film, one of the things that I really, really look at is players' body language. It's a big indicator of mental state and shit like that. So when you're watching film, don't just watch the play and the result of the play. Look at the body language of the players, okay? So Wattenberg snaps it. He knows it hit him in the leg. There's no way he didn't feel it hit him in the leg. Still goes to get his block, which that's commendable, considering that this was definitely a gun play. It was definitely a gun play called because of how the running back set up. You snapped it into your thigh, and you still just didn't even turn your head. Are we that like,
he wants to play off like he didn't know, right? Like, it's fine. Like, you just ignore the problem. You know what this is like? This is like when I'm traveling, I got my headphones on and I'm listening to some Miley Cyrus or something, and I rip a fart. And then I act like I didn't do it just because I didn't hear it. And it's like, nah, man, that wasn't me. And then everybody that doesn't have headphones on, they're like, I can tell it's you. So this play from Wattenberg, he's farting with headphones on.
It's a full 2 seconds from when he snapped the ball to when he turns his head. He turns his head right there. Huh?
It's like, bro, you know.
What?
You know it was you.
Like, in the film room today, they were probably like, did you just not feel the ball hit you? Like, did you just think that Bo magically caught it? Like, the ball hits you right in the butthole, my guy. And then just like defeated here. Like,
at least help Bo up. Did he help Bo up after this?
Nope.
Oh, see, that's a really bad look, my brother.
So here's the next play. And this is the other play that we really wanted to talk about. Okay. And there were a lot of good plays in this game from Bo Nix that we could talk about. But this one, you got 200 yards of passing, 180 if you take in all the sacks, but 200 yards of passing, a couple touchdowns, a rushing touchdown. But this one would have been like a holy shit, he's here.
Yeah.
Touchdown. Like
his arrival moment.
This would have been the arrival. And this is the connection that we've been waiting for. The whole reason they traded up to take Troy Franklin was because of this exact play.
Yep.
So I believe this is, let's see, we've got Marvin Mims at the top of your screen. Or sorry, that's Cortland Sutton at the top of your screen. We've got Marvin Mims down here. And then I think that's Adam Troutman or Lucas Kroll. It's Lucas Kroll. So We're going to motion Franklin over to create a little bit of like a stack look, right? This is a semi-stack look. We're kind of getting into that speed release. Ball is snapped. Marvin Mims takes a hard inside release. And we know he's not even looking at Marvin Mims. He's got Marvin Mims locked up.
Right.
He's on Troy Franklin. This is supposed to be, it would be like cover one, right? Boy, he doesn't even think about that. They did not call Banjo. They did not call in it. So Banjo is the switch. Okay. If a guy goes inside, outside, hey, Banjo. That tells the inside corner. He's got to take the guy who's going inside. The back corner has the guy who's going outside. So here's some miscommunication. Now
there was 2 blown coverages from the Raiders on this play.
Oh, big time. But here's the thing. Looking at this play, you would say, oh my God, Marvin Mims is just screaming down the seam wide open. We've got
But the linebacker's in the throwing lane here.
He is, but not there.
Right.
That's where we've got to make this throw inside. Marvin Mims is salivating.
And you assume that Marvin can probably beat that safety.
Oh, yeah.
That's arguably can be a touchdown.
Now, he goes off of it. And I guess the other part of this is we also have a route coming into the fray here. So we've got Cortland Sutton coming in. Marvin Mims does the right thing. He knows he's uncovered. He knows he's got space. He's looking back at the quarterback. Most receivers would take this about 10, 15 yards downfield and then look back. No. Marvin Mims knows he's wide open. We got to make this throw. And Bo thinks about it. You saw him. He's separated a little bit. He thought about it, but now he's bouncing and he's waiting. He's looking at this safety. He's just fucking it. He's like, you got to stay home because Marvin Mims is down here. What if I throw this ball?
Is he looking at Mims here? I can't tell from my angle. You have a better look at it.
I think that he is looking at the safety.
Because he's holding the safety.
Yes.
So maybe he doesn't throw this pass because he knew that there's no safety help for Franklin. And even at like the Raiders corner, you could tell thinks he has safety help because he kind of lets Franklin go. But even at this point, Pat, he's not running stride for stride with Franklin. So even if he's covering him and it's not a blown coverage, this is still a win from Franklin off the route.
Big time. And this is 2 yards of separation right here between Franklin and the corner. Now, what Bo's doing here, you can see his eyes are turned. So now he's looking to see where did that other defender go? Well, he broke off. So this means I've got Troy
one-on-one with no safety help.
And he lets that motherfucker rip.
And take a look at Mims too. It kind of makes you wonder what exactly this deep safety is doing. Because Franklin is wide open. Mims is actually wide open.
I would be screaming at my safety, get your eyes out of the backfield.
Is that Merrick?
I don't think so. Merrick's 7. I think he's down here somewhere. But safety's flat-footed. Bo lets it rip. He's still late getting over.
And Troy might not ever be this wide open again in his career. This is about as open as you get 50 yards down the freaking field, Pat.
This is a ball that you have to catch. You cannot not catch this ball. They did this at Oregon how many times? Now let's look
dozens. Literally dozens.
Let's look at it from the tight. Max
and the protection here, by the way, Pat, protection is immaculate.
Pretty good.
This is exactly what you want to see from the line.
Kudos to Luke Wattenberg for taking on Max Crosby, right? He's got him inside. This dude, game wrecker. This dude was fucking shit up all day. I would want this dude on my team. But look at Bo rips this ball. This is a beautiful pass.
That's about 60-ish air yards, maybe 65.
Get out of here with the I overthrew him bullshit. I respect it for taking accountability and taking the heat off your receiver, but this is what he was so pissed off about coming to the sideline. This is a throw that they have done in practice, in games, in college.
forever.
over and over and over again. This has to be a touchdown right here.
Pat, you cannot throw a better ball. And he didn't even really set his feet that well. Like, he was still a little bit off base. And he just relied solely on his arm strength there to get it. And it was an absolute dot.
Now, I'm going to pull up this one. This is the last one we'll talk about, because this one could have been a 97-yard touchdown to Troy Franklin. And it probably should have been. Okay. They come out in tight splits. Okay. I love condensed formations, especially when we're backed up in the end zone. This is fantastic work. Cortland Sutton's down here. We're going to motion Troy Franklin across. So we're going to get a 3-by-1 setup. I believe that's Marvin Mims over there. On the other side, Javonte Williams is in the backfield. Now he motions out. This is cover 2. This is cover 2 all the way. Okay.
Yeah.
Safety's corner is outside leverage. That's a zone drop. Okay. He's looking like it's man. It's not man. Turns. Okay. Now look at where the safety is. This is Morig.
Okay.
He is flat-footed.
Mm-hmm.
Troy Franklin, separation. Okay. Now, I don't mind that Bo dumped it off, but I feel like he may have been a little too quick. You had time. Okay. We would call this laser. Okay.
Like maybe he got a little panicky because they're in the shadow of their end zone.
Yes, and that's fine. But this is laser or Larry protection, so we're sliding everything to the left. Okay. We've got open grass.
Yeah.
We've got open grass. You don't need to throw. Let's take a look. Take a look.
Well, in Merrick's eyes here, like he's watching. Who is that receiver in the slot? Is that Court?
He's coming up the middle. He is flat-footed. Now, ball's already gone. But boy, howdy, if you're going to tell me that you can't hit Troy Franklin right now, throw the ball.
And minimum 30-yard gain there. If he beats Merrick, then that's a touchdown.
Throw this ball right here.
And I want people to know really quick, the reason that Pat is showing these and that we're discussing these is because despite the fact that Bo had a great game, there are still plays, and it's not complicated plays, Pat. Like plays that he can and will make in the future, and minor little gripes where it's like he looks good, but he can be better. And this is why we think that a game like this is still closer to his floor than his ceiling.
If you think that Troy Franklin wouldn't be able to, with a head of steam, wouldn't be able to outrun Merrick here, you're crazy. This is a house call.
He's about 20. He's about 20 yards off of Franklin here, and his momentum is taking him forward towards the middle of the field. Yeah,
because he's stepping down. He's coming down. And I mean, these are the things where it's like it's so close. It's so close, but still, like it's still growing. It's still kind of growing and getting better. You know, like I said, the play action was a lot better in this game. It was a really good showing overall. I'm excited to see Bo go up a better defense. Honestly, the Chargers have been one of the more well-coached teams this season in terms of defensive play. That's going to be the big thing: is how is Bo going to respond after a 2-touchdown game, a 3-touchdown game, really?
Total. Yeah. This is exactly what we want to see, and I appreciate you bringing up that film, and hopefully everybody's learning something. And again, we want to show you these things because it's like you can be satisfied with what you've seen from Bo. Absolutely. I think they said that he's the first Broncos rookie quarterback to ever win 3 straight games. So it's like it doesn't matter what it looked like, it doesn't matter how it was done. The fact of the matter is that that's where we're at, and that's what happened.
Yeah.
And so now, like I said at the beginning of the show, you go from potentially starting this season 0-4. And that Tampa Bay game, Pat, no longer a fluke. Tampa Bay is legit. Tampa Bay has one of the best offenses in the entire NFL, and I think they are a legit Super Bowl contender. the Jets, again, you throw that game out. Robert Saleh just got fired. Apparently, he came out and said that he was considering firing Nathaniel Hackett. And so I think it's just hysterical that somehow Saleh gets fired before Hackett. And maybe that's just because Hackett is Rodgers' buddy.
Escorted out of the building.
Out of the building is absolutely wild. And so now, because this season has turned on its head in the best way possible, you beat a banged-up Chargers team with a Justin Herbert who is not 100%. And granted, you go into New Orleans on a short week, but New Orleans is starting to look like what we thought New Orleans would look like, Pat.
Yeah.
First few weeks seemed like a bit of an anomaly. They've come back down to earth. Dennis Allen runs a great defense down there. I think that'll be a really interesting challenge. And then you have, of course, the talking point of Sean Payton returning to New Orleans. You like to believe that there's no way he loses that game. They need to get at least one of these, though.
Yeah.
They need to win either. I mean, obviously, you have to win your division games. But if you just get one between the Chargers and the Saints, and you're 4-3, almost at the midway part of the season, that's about as good as you could have asked for. If you had told me before the season, Pat, that they're 3-2 going into this Chargers game, I would be thrilled. Don't care how it happened. You have a winning record 5 games into the season for a head coach in Sean Payton that historically is a slow starter. Maybe he got the slow start out of the way already. Maybe, 3 of those first 4 games, like those were the slow starts. I'm going to count the Jets game because that was a very slow start regardless. Maybe that's out of the way. And if you can continue this momentum right now, because if you're an athlete or you've been around sports and you know this, Pat, momentum is very real. When you get that feeling of winning and you start to feel how it feels, then, I mean, honestly, that's the reason that the Chiefs are 5-0. That and the fact that the officials hand them wins and it's fine. That team, like their offense is not playing that well. Patrick Mahomes is not playing that well. Yeah, he'll have his flashy plays, but it's because there's a winning culture that's already indoctrinated into them. It's a football team that knows how to win games. Even if they're not getting the production from Kelsey or from Mahomes, they find ways to win football games. And that's exactly what the Broncos are starting to show. And that's exactly why a coach like Sean Payton is so imperative, because we're starting to get that winning culture. And you and I said this weeks ago after the 0-2 start, it's like as bad as it was and as frustrating as it was, and as much as Bo Nix was struggling, the only way to fix it is to win. Winning cures everything. It doesn't matter if you win by 30. It doesn't matter if you win by 1. They don't ask how, they ask how many. And right now, there's 3 in a row. And as long as they can continue this with this momentum, Pat, with this feeling of like, we are starting to learn how to win football games. Because the game in New York, that is a game that the Broncos teams of the last 10 years lose. Honestly, even this Raiders game, this was a close game at halftime. I think, what was it, like a 3? It was a 3-point. This is a 3-point game. If you take away the Pats or Tam pick 6, that's a 10-point swing right there. That's the kind of game that Broncos teams in the past lose. And this is such a difference of what we're seeing, because not only did they flip the script in the second half, they blew the Raiders out in the second half, despite not playing very good football in the first half from an offensive standpoint. This is what you want to see from your team.
Yeah. And I think like it's that locker room is going to be so much fun if they keep winning. It's going to be so much fun. And with Bo Nix still coming around and still learning and getting better each week, you were talking about, getting in Sean Payton's face, and somebody posted on Twitter the clip of Drew Brees saying, Sean wants to see a little fire in his quarterback. Like he wants to see that, you're serious, and he wants to know that you'll fight back. And, the comparisons between the Russell Wilson videos from last year and then the Bo Nix video from this year is like, Bo is not afraid to speak his mind. And I think that's like, everybody's going to make, like, the media is going to make a huge deal about it, but this is such a big positive. Like this should honestly be changing how some people saw this pick. everybody was saying how, they wasted the 12th pick on him. Well, look, if you can take this guy and turn him into, not Drew Brees per se, but like a version of Drew Brees where it's just consistent football and just driving down the field and getting points. Hey, that's enough to win games if you've got an elite defense behind him and an elite special teams unit. You don't have to, like, I'm so tired of people saying like, oh, there's no deep shots during the game, but why aren't we getting those big deep balls? That, dude, those are like that's like less than 5% of all big plays in the NFL is like deep bombs that like a receiver catches way downfield. Like that doesn't happen that much anymore. This is about like just moving the ball down the field. And Bo Nix has done that consistently, especially in 2-minute drills. I think if it came down to it, if it really came down to it, and it did in New York, it comes down to a 2-minute drill and you can get the team in at least a position to win or tie the game. Is that not what we want from a quarterback?
That's the most important aspect of playing quarterback, Pat. Can you succeed in a 2-minute drill? And like you said, he did it in New York when they absolutely needed it. He did it. And we saw him do it against Vegas. He got the team into field goal range at the end of the half. Tampa Bay, same thing. And again,
Seattle.
It's like these are the things. Yeah, these are the things that you have to look for. And I will say this: as Bo Nix continues to progress and he continues to improve, like he's trending in the right direction. You and I said before the season, the record almost doesn't matter as long as Bo Nix is showing improvement. And we've been blessed with the fact that Bo Nix is showing improvement and the team has a winning record 5 weeks into the season. And a rookie quarterback's best friend, Bo Nix's best friend right now, it's a good run game and it's a great defense. And it finally seems, and I said this to Joey last week, it finally seems like rookie Javonte might be back. The game in New York, he seemed so much more explosive. He seemed quicker. He seemed more decisive. And we saw more of that in the Raiders game. And it's like he feels like he's following his blocks better. It feels like he's more decisive with his running. He's putting his foot in the ground and he's running forward. Over 100 all-purpose yards, led the team in rushing and receiving. That is exactly what you need out of Javonte Williams right now. And as long as he continues to trend in this direction and the defense continues to play the way that they are, you take a lot of pressure off of Bo Nix. Not to say that Bo can't handle the pressure, but as a rookie quarterback, it's like these are the things that you need to help with your development. And of course, the defense has been the best part of it, Pat. Now, I want to talk a little bit about that, and then we'll preview the Chargers game, and then we'll get out of here. What was the one thing that you and I just hammered on repeatedly in the offseason, telling people why this defense would be marketably better than they were last year? The interior defensive line is head, shoulders, knees, and toes better than it was last year. And everybody talked about the John Franklin Myers trade, and that's been fantastic. Can we give a shout out to Malcolm Roach?
Amen.
A guy that we assumed would just kind of be a depth signing and not like, and you think that he's just like a really good run stuffer, and he is. He's also getting fairly consistent pressure from the inside on passing plays.
Yeah.
This interior defensive line is finally opening up things for the edge rushers where, like we said, now they have an edge to set. The interior defensive line is not getting bullied like they were last year. It's not just Zach Allen and a bunch of Jags. This is arguably like the best front defensive line in the league. And the best part about it, Pat, they have not a lot of star power. It's not like a lot of these guys are household names. It's like, we know Jonathan Cooper, we know Nick Benito, we know Zach Allen, and so on and so forth. They're not household names. This is like the money ball of the NFL. It's like you have Pat Surtain, the star, and then everybody else is just, then they just got a bunch of dogs who are doing their job and they're doing it well.
They're hungry. They're hungry. And
hungry dogs got to eat.
You gotta have some dogs on that defense that are going to want to eat.
And the scariest thing about this, Pat, is like they are still doing this without Baron Browning. Now, Barron's foot got stepped on. It was one of these like freak injuries, had a bad bone bruise. He should be back for New Orleans. And in my opinion, you're coming back just in time because that's how you slow down the Saints and Derek Carr. It's like you're pressuring him off the edge and forcing him into bad decisions. We saw the Chiefs do it last night, and the times that he struggled, that's what you're getting. So hopefully you're getting a fresh, healthy Baron Browning, because then you're talking about really this defense being at its full strength when you add another piece like Baron Browning. And, it's going to be really interesting to see what they do come contract time, because Jonathan Cooper feels like you have to bring him back. You absolutely have to bring him back. It was the biggest hit you could have had in the 7th round. You've got to reward him for what he's done and pay for what he's going to do. But now with this Baron Browning situation, Pat, it's interesting because if Baron comes back and he balls out, which is exactly what he did last season, maybe you can get away with giving him a 1-year prove-it deal where it's like, we know how good you are, but you have had a hard time staying on the field for one reason or another. We're going to give you a 1-year prove-it deal. And if he accepts that, Pat, which I hope that he does, then the following year, the Russell Wilson contract is finally completely off the books. You're going to have your quarterback on a rookie deal, and it allows you to pay a guy like Baron Browning. So hopefully that all works out, because I think you need to do what you can to make sure that you retain all of these guys. There's no such thing as too many good edge rushers. And really quick before we move on, speaking of that, Jonah Ellis quietly had a very good game. He forced the interception in the end zone that Pat Surtain took back 100 yards. If you look, he's pressuring Minshew, got his hands up. He forced the errant throw that Pat Surtain picked off. And not only that, Pat, and this is like the flag that was thrown, I thought this was the penalty. He put Gardner Booger Eater Minshew on his ass on the return. Beautiful. That was a vet play, Pat. So it's like nothing that he did shows up in the stat sheet, but he forced the interception, and then he not that Gardner Minshew is going to tackle Pat Surtain, but he gave him just a free lane to the end zone, and he drove him into the ground. That was one of those soul-stealing plays, and it was all because of Jonah Ellis.
It was beautiful. Hands inside, palms up, thumbs up, drive the guy into the dirt. Love to see it.
And hopefully he laughed doing it.
I hope. No, I think the Baron Browning situation is such an interesting one too, and especially with like this would be my question too about Baron Browning is, Alex Singleton goes on IR, tore his ACL. Cody Barton's been fine. Good veteran signing. What percentage would you give it if the Broncos come to the table next year and they're like, hey, would you be willing to maybe play some inside linebacker, or is that completely out of the question?
I don't want to say it's completely out of the question,
because you can still put him in those situations where he's rushing the pass.
Right. Well, and this is kind of like what we were led to believe when Barron was first drafted, right? Was that he would play that Micah Parsons role. But at the end of the day, Pat, it's like Micah Parsons is one of one. It's like Micah Parsons is the only version of Micah Parsons. Now, do I think that Vance Joseph is enough of an evil genius to scheme things like that for him? Absolutely. Do I think that he can put him in positions where it's like maybe he even looks like an inside backer? Yeah, I think it's doable. I don't have the acumen to figure it out for me personally, but I do know, like, having spoken to, offensive linemen on this team or who were previously on this team that have gone up against Barron in practice, talking to other defensive players who were in that room with him, he is 100% more of an edge than an inside backer. Even though his rookie year, when he got reps at inside backer, he was very good. Yeah. But it's almost like with the way the NFL is today, there's only one Fred Warner, right? Like, you're not going to get a Fred Warner out of him. All of your best defensive players, they're edge rushers. It's edge rushers and corners are the big money ticket items. So I almost feel like moving him to inside backer, it's like you're putting the reins on him and you're putting him in a box. You let him go off as an edge rusher, that's where you're really going to get the most value out of him. But again, anything is possible. And if anyone can scheme something up for him that's going to be unique, then I think it's Vance Joseph. And maybe we see that, like maybe he plays around with it a little bit this year now that Singleton's done for the season.
Yeah, I think it could be a possibility, but you also just want to put your guys in the best situation to succeed. Dondre Tillman's been doing a pretty good job in his limited reps. So
another guy that you and I talked about, and if people watch the show, then they were not shocked by that.
Yeah. But you've got this good thing going with Ellis and Benito rotating in and Tillman rotating in as well. Jonathan Cooper's been fucking fantastic. So this is like, and I think about what Chris Harris has told me over and over and over again is like, you want to have like the build of a championship defense is at least 4 pass rushers who could potentially be starters that you just cycle in. Big, pocket pushers on the inside, like they had with Malik Jackson and Derek Wolfe.
Mm-hmm.
You've got Zach Allen and Malcolm Roach, and like we're seeing Jordan Jackson get some run there. We're seeing John Franklin Myers get better. DJ Jones has been on a fucking tear. So, hey, that's great. You got to have some dogs at middle linebacker. And Alex Singleton was a dog, but he's done for the year. Can Strnad be a dog? I don't know. We'll see. Cody Barton's been playing okay. Like maybe
Strnad's been holding up his end of the bargain so far, man. He has surprised me.
And then you need a good, solid rotation in the secondary. You got to have good safeties back there who aren't afraid to come down and hit. Brandon Jones has shown that. PJ Locke has shown that. Pat is a one of one. Riley Moss has been balling out. Jaquan Macmillan, as they call
He's
him.
the unsung hero of this team, Pat. Everybody talks about PS2 for obvious reasons. Everyone talks about Riley Moss because he's the first white cornerback to have an interception in 22 years. Like, I get it's a big story, and that was a huge question mark. But if you look at what Macmillan has done, he is almost erasing slot wide receivers. But because of the nature of his position and because of like the other 2 guys in that cornerback room, he is somehow flying under the radar, which I low-key love to see. And the fact that you do not mention him a lot is fantastic news for a guy that plays slot corner.
Yeah. I'm just taking a look at coverage grades here. It's like I like to look at like passer rating allowed and stuff like that. And last year, Jaquan, he struggled a little bit. And that's okay. Like, it's your first year as a starter. You got put in some shitty situations. But let's see. Where is he? Let's see if we can find him on here. Oh, he's not on this list because he doesn't have enough to qualify. Let's see. Sorry, I'm doing this. No, I think that like this is one of the best defensive units that we have had in quite some time, and it makes me really, really optimistic going forward. So super, super excited. Oh, there he is. Jaquan Macmillan, currently 21st in the league among cornerbacks for passer rating when thrown to, minimum of 150 snaps. But this is a big improvement from last year. Just looking at what what he did last year, he gave up 109.4 passer rating when thrown to. So the passer rating's gone down a bit. That's really good to see. He's been targeted 33 times already. He was targeted 67 times last year. In 439 coverage snaps, he was targeted 67 times. And in 163 coverage snaps this year, he's been targeted 33 times. So it's not like he's not getting thrown at. He's getting thrown at, and he's doing a very good job of making stops. He's got 10 stops on the year. He's got 2 PBUs, hasn't given up a touchdown yet. So this is big for him. Yeah. He gave up 8 touchdowns last year in coverage.
Well, again, The thing that we keep preaching, and it's not just Bo Nix, is this entire team. You have to continue to see progress. That's what we've seen. And I'll tell you what, Pat, as long as they play the brand of football that they have been playing, where the defense is staunch, it's almost like a bend, don't break, except they're not even really bending that much. And as long as Bo Nix, again, continues to improve, keep getting Javonte going, the 1-2 punch with Jaleel has looked great the last couple of weeks. Those guys are really finding the groove. And most importantly, it feels like there's a really good balance between the two of them. Like it's finally starting to click the proper way to use each of those guys in this situation. These next 3 games, Pat, they are very winnable games. Chargers at home, and then you got New Orleans Thursday night. And then you have that long week and you come home to play Carolina. There's absolutely no reason that this team shouldn't be 6-2 a month from now. And honestly, as I'm looking at the schedule, that's what it needs to be, because after Carolina, you're at Baltimore, at Kansas City, Atlanta at home. So the next 3 games after those, and the next 3 games and then the following 3 games, very, very different. So we'd love to see them. I mean, at least 2. You have to win at least 2 of those next 3 games, because then you have a 3-game gauntlet after that.
Yeah. And division games always count as 2. We know that. So beating the Raiders is huge. You know, you got the Chargers coming up and you got the Chiefs in a few weeks. Chiefs are looking beatable.
Beatable.
I mean, beatable. They're still so, like, the defense is so good. That's the matchup that's probably going to scare me the most, is their defense against our offense. I'm very excited to see this defensive unit for Denver go up against the Chiefs, but can't look forward to that now. We got the Chargers on deck. So let's talk Chargers.
We'll just make it really simple, Pat. Do the Broncos win this game? And if so, what has to happen in order for them to win?
Man, you gotta play clean football. This is gonna have to be a really, really dialed in week for Sean Payton and the offense, because this defense, they're not bad at all. They don't have Bosa right now. I don't know if he's going to come back this week or not, but Khalil Mack is still doing Khalil Mack things. Bud Dupree, in the last game against Kansas City, they generated 26 pressures on Pat Mahomes.
And that's a very good offensive line.
And that's, yes. And I mean, this is the Chiefs we're talking about. So 26 pressures, 4 sacks, 20 hurries in that game. But that doesn't mean that doesn't mean that they're perfect. It just means that the pass rush, the pass protection is going to have to be A1. We're going to have to run the ball on this team and just tire them out. You got to hit them with the body blows, and the injuries along the line, McGlinchey being out, Bowles, going in and out, probably now Wattenberg, who knows what's going on with him, but this is going to be an interesting matchup for them. They did.
You know what this means, Pat? You know what it means?
What?
More Burton.
Oh. More Mike Burton.
Let's go.
Against the Chiefs, they did allow a passer rating of 105.7. They did get an interception on Pat Mahomes. Really bad interception, if I remember it correctly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And did allow a touchdown. So I think that there's opportunity for them to win this game. You just got to protect the quarterback. And I think Bo has been doing a pretty good job handling pressure. Their secondary is not very well graded out, according to PFF. I mean, Perriman is not very good, according to PFF. Gilman, Samuel's been somewhat fine, but this is a very winnable game. So will they win? I think if you can get the run game going a little bit, and you can minimize mistakes like you have been. Bo has been great, not turning the ball over during this win streak. So that's exciting to see. I think if they can do that, this should be a winnable game for them for sure.
Yeah. I mean, it's simple. It's like any other game. You keep Bo upright. You take care of the football. You make plays on defense. this is becoming their identity. And they need to continue to fortify that. They can't have a letdown on offense, especially after the second half explosion we saw from the Raiders. They have to continue to build on that. And we need to see more and more Bo making these plays like we showed you on the film of like, you just got to pull the trigger. You got to pull the trigger. And if it gets picked, it gets picked. You learn from it, you move on. But those will start becoming big time plays as Bo's confidence grows. Anything else before we get out of here, Pat?
I think that this is going to be another really strong performance by the Broncos run defense. Chargers struggled to run the ball against the Chiefs. That's a good sign because we have one of the better run defenses in the league. So I think if we can just make them throw the ball, force Justin Herbert into some of those situations, he's not 100%, so the mobility won't be there. I think it's going to be a good weekend. Maybe we'll make it 4 in a row.
The biggest X factor that no one's going to talk about, Pat, is that my mom is going to that game. It's going to be the first game that she's attending since pre-COVID. And God help me, I can't imagine them losing with Debbie Vitanzi in attendance. She is a saint.
Yeah. Denver's currently 3-point favorites. So
they're going to win by 6. And when we do the LTB predictions, just for anyone that follows along with that, because now the Broncos had their best, most complete game while I was suspended, I would like to announce that Mile High Mario will continue to be suspended from picking Bronco games until further notice. My name's Mario Vitanzi. That's Patrick Chiotti. Follow him on Twitter at Patrick Chiotti. Follow me on Twitter at Vitanzi Therapy right here. And thanks for hanging out with us. Sorry we're not live, but we should be back next.
Hey, feel I'm in the mood for a switch up. I hit the function, hit the rose till I hiccup. I hit the stage and leave with money that's a stick.